Hello and welcome. As today's date, that comes in that of the 7th day of July, 2020. My name is Derek. This is the Money Charts channel where, like always, all bets, trades, and of the like, that's within each's own risk and their own reward. For myself, risk reward management is always job number one. And a lot of that is being conscious on the bets, trades, holdings, and things of that which you are doing. Of course, within the reward management, looking for the best gains in which you can add towards one's portfolio, towards their balance and such, and the risk side, ensuring, of course, that you control your risk management. Of course, always job number one. On with the charts, Theta against Bitcoin, and I've multiplied this by 100 million because it's log form. It does better. If it doesn't look as good in the normal one. However, this is part of a really large premium package service with the second best on TradingView. Mine's coming to an expiry in a short period of time, and therefore these charts, ratio charts, which I really don't show much, are no longer going to be shown because it's just not worth the extra premium service. That what I need is the alerts, and the removal of advertisements, and there was one other thing that I had, extra time frames like the 4 minute, and the gold yearly chart's a nice one. So I will be getting some sort of package, but I'm going to wait till the expiry comes in and then decide which one from there, and hopefully they'll give me a deal. Anyway, throwing that part aside, we're looking at Theta, which I've been stating is en route to that of going below. In this 1943, I could even just go like this and just move it lower a bit if I wanted to. And why is it not letting me do it now? Anyway, it's slow. Oh, there's a dot that's in there. That's why. The Fibonacci is like 1800 in height change, and it broke down below it. Has been unable to break out above it. It attempted on June the 22nd on this time frame to do so, but at least neutralize it, which is what it has successfully done. Because as it failed on the breakout, it succeeded in correcting for quite some time. And today's session is an attempt again, as it was before, that of about 2 weeks plus ago, to get things going. Now, if it does, I'll be looking at yet another resistance test, which it last had, and on only twice it really had it, was June the 5th. And the 4th. But the first time was here, then again here. It didn't quite get up there towards that point. And right now it's at the upper end of its level of resistance. It really does need to get above that 3,000 mark for me to talk about, okay, we're back and we can talk about this big full-fledged bull market. If you see it holding and staying above this 26, 27 area for a significant period of time, that's a good setup moving forward. But the big thing is always going to be the break of that significant key point, because on such, I would think that having 4,000 would probably be very light resistance, and even here at the previous one around 6,000, it could very easily exceed that and then start to work within uncharted new territories, 8,000, 10,000, 12,000, so on and so forth. It's still on. If this thing fails through, if we see that this thing goes up to whatever, maybe now, maybe just a bit more, 28, 29, whatever, and then it starts to pull back, well, we can see we had a lot of resistance in here at around range 24 up to about in the 2400 range. So if it's going to go down there and show weakness there and even not hold it, then that would tell us, oh, we had a failed breakout. And what we was seeing all the time, or what I was seeing, whatever, if you see it the same, whatever. But if that's the case, you'd be like, yep, now we're most certainly going down this level, and then we'll see what happens from there. But if the message of the market is going to show that it's going to hold in this, we have buyers that are willing to come in and sellers aren't forced, which they haven't been, then we got to give it the benefit of the doubt. I'd like to see this come in on some decent volume, and I really haven't seen too much of it within today's session. That's not going to make me pessimistic by all means, but it certainly isn't making me optimistic at all within the intra-move rally. As far as the play is concerned, it has been phenomenal so far from the point yesterday afternoon. So for 29 hours now, making a high and a low, higher low, and then a significantly large higher high, and it did so boom, boom, boom in like 3 good periods here up to 6 a.m. in today's session correcting it well, then extending the game. And really in here we can see this level of resistance that it had in the early morning has been supporting here in this late afternoon here in New York time, although I'm not in New York City, but just using that as a time zone. Eastern time is another one that people would be familiar with as well. So the movement has been going on very, very productive so far. And if you're looking for things like just Fibonacci tools, okay, so you got a low here about 2360. Our high is at about 2718. So we could you just take that. Either the way I talk about it or the normal one, you get the same answers. But generally speaking, what I'm trying to mention is that, okay, if it's able to hold a correction at this 25, then that's all fine and dandy. But as I mentioned before, if it's going to be a failed move, this is where the weakness would come in. So in the short term, if it were to fall like weak towards this point, then as I mentioned with that failed move would come into play. Now, as far as on, okay, we're looking for the significant breaks. Well, we've already came up to this level of resistance, and this current move, it's a wild card now. This thing could be continuing on, and a move higher just is in the same story. The story is resisting where we came from, betweening about 2650 and 2850, because the 2850 for this high, then this was a situation in here on June the 22nd. What happened here, and is this happened was an instant buy. Someone, most likely, well, one account for sure, would have bought it up with one buy, one order, bought probably, I don't know, a large buy, 6-7 figures or however much it might have been in dollar terms, and they got their coins. And then the price would always do something like this, but it's been holding that move really well, even with this beautiful failed move, because we see from point A, which is June 22nd, which was consolidating at around 2300, rallied up to 28. From that point, well, right now we're at 2680, so therefore it's noticeably above where that person is, and definitely the person's buy, if that person bought now and has done nothing, their buy price would have most certainly been at an average lower than 2680. For they would have been buying a whole bunch of 2420, 2450, all the numbers in between, up to the highest number, which was 2,814. But the size of how many Bitcoins it would have cost to buy this versus all of this would have been most likely lower here, because there would have been just more supply available on these for this one here. Okay, so therefore the production's been good. We had this sell-off, and it came down to 22.23, and from that rebound, it did magnificent in holding its established support at 23 2/3. And of course, the resistance in here was it ended up congesting here between like 1400 hours to like 20 on the 3-hour stamp during this entire level of resistance. And then the concise move to where we came from. So if it breaks above this, okay, so now we're going to that 3,000 target. So now in that must hold, well, before, right now that must hold area is around this area here, like the congestion area at 24. If it does go up higher, say to 3, well, now I want to see it come back and hold around 26. 20, even down as low as 25 and change. But yeah, realistically about 26 to 26 and change. That's where, if of course it gets to 3. And when it gets to 3 on the situation, of course I should say, if it gets to 3, then there's many ways it can correct. You could just end up having situations where you maybe just chop back and forth one way or another amongst a key Fibonacci point. That could be one way. And then that's just the level of what I call weak resistance, because, well, when you're trading in any sense, you're betting that, of course, it's quote unquote that's going to go down one way or another. So maybe you're exiting out of positions expecting that it's it for that time, or maybe you're trying to get a better price. Like, okay, it goes up to 3,000. I want to sell it, but I want to buy it back. Okay, where are you buying it back? Maybe you're buying it back at 26. You're looking for about a 12-13% retracement. If you're right, you get that little bit of a gain, which would be just that, 12-13%. And if you're wrong, well, then you sold at 3,000 where you could have ended up selling for more, all that kind of stuff. And that's just all part of how these games are played. Yes. So anyway, that don't think there's anything much more to go over on here. Let me just take a quick look at the short term just for something yada yada to do. It hasn't lost any of its up. Well, it hasn't done anything downward. It's going through another neutrality correction. It had one in here. Nice move higher. Nice one here. A move higher. But it is supporting this level of resistance, and it hasn't failed any type of move yet. But if you see it get above the 18 average of highs, and I say that so much, I just didn't mean to do that. I'm trying to scroll this back a few periods like this. So you see it get above the 18 average of highs on so many different situations here. And in spots like that, if you buy and wait, oh, of course it would have worked. Situations like that, you can get people getting stopped out, and so be it. But let's just see other situations. You're doing this in a neutral market too. But there's a spot, oh, we're breaking it above it. Maybe it's a spot where you go long in a spot like this. If you wait for a pullback, well, you didn't get it. And there's your move. And now you can take whatever profits at different times. You can adjust your stop losses or stop gains higher as it goes. And well, now we have some sort of correction in here. So you're looking for any type of momentum. Okay, now we're above the 18, but I'd like to see some sort of setup come further. And well, now we got established resistance, get above that level we got here. It looks pretty good at 25. That's the things I've been saying in many videos. And there we go. Now we get above it. And what follows after that? Oh, that follows after that. It's just the way that this game is being played. And in this one here, there's a breakout above. And if this case, oh, you bet, well, it hasn't went up big. But as we say, we're just holding on. So this could have been a spot where maybe you went long as it was breaking out. Maybe you got in at 26.95 and hopefully you didn't get stopped out in the short-term move. Maybe you still might. And then if this thing breaks out again, like I would be thinking you go on a short-term, you are going long on a play. Like if it's like 27.20. It depends, again, what's your risk-reward strategy on it, and different ways, of course, of making money. For me, I like to trade pair with this against other coins. So I have all of these different ratios. I'm going to be losing all of this stuff in here, but different things like, say, Dash and Theta. And this is one that I'm looking to trade right now. I'm looking to sell Theta for Dash. I'm just looking for a bit better of a gain. I know I could take one now, but to me, it looks like Theta's in a nice breakout stage. I kind of really don't want to. And as you can see, this thing is just looking to break down in here. So for me, with this going all the way down, I was just sell Theta for Dash, sell Theta for Dash, then a little bit of selling up for Dash for Theta up here. So my last trade probably would have been up in this upper end in here, and it would have only had to have been. My computer's telling me to sell at 282. That means I would have got in maybe around 350 or something, and that's a good way for me when I got coins that I want, like my Dash, my Theta, my Bitcoin Cash, my LITECOIN, and all these other things. Just trade them with other coins. Just flip them back and forth, because one mechanism could be, yeah, I want Dash, I want Theta, I want Bitcoin, I want Bitcoin Cash, I want them all, or I want those particular ones. But if you want Bitcoin Cash and Theta and Dash and such, you can buy them back and forth, sell, and then you look back 2, 3, 4 years later, people who bought so much of all those coins are happy because all these coins are kicking ass. Yeah. My situation, I could have 3 times more of that coin, maybe 5 times more of that, maybe X amount of that, and X, Y amount of that. And that's what I love, why I love playing this game. Let the math play for it within itself. Thank you for tuning in, and have yourself a great day. Bye-bye.